My name's Fraser. I'm the captain of Gene Machine. I've been on board for about 3 years working for the Gene Machine program.
I'm Christoph. I'm also a captain of Gene Machine. I've been here for 6 weeks, but I've been running Amels yachts, sister ships to this one, for the last 5 years.
Gene Machine is a rather busy boat. We spend, on average, about 6 months of the year cruising with our owner. With displacement voyages, yard periods, etc., there's very little downtime for Gene Machine. Last year we spent, I believe, about 186 days at sea, or not in port, at anchor with the boss, or across the Atlantic back and forth. We also went up north, did a 9,000 nautical mile cruise. So with that, we have ongoing projects, ongoing maintenance, plus the owner's requirements require pretty much a full crew all year round on board. There's no time for slacking on here.
Well, I'm being of slightly advanced age. I actually have a family at home, and so I'm trying to spend as little time away from home as I can. Obviously, I still need to make a living, and the way we do it, because most owners and our owner is the same, he really wants to relate to one captain only. So Fraser is the captain who's always here when the owner is on board. I'm dealing more with the displacement voyages, with the yard periods, and trying to work also from home, supporting the captain while he has the owner on board. It's a reasonably sized operation running a yacht like this, and it's sometimes comforting to know that when you're a captain you can pick up the phone and talk to somebody who knows the boat and who knows what stress you're under, and just delegate some of the more tedious tasks we have to do over running a ship like this.
I think when I'm doing a good job, I'm not actually doing what people actually think a captain is doing, which is standing behind the wheel all the time. I like to see my junior crew take charge and also give my chief officer the experience to drive the boat. So unfortunately, that's my favorite part of the job, but I don't do it very much. Well, Gene Machine has a fairly large crew for our size vessel. We operate with a crew of 14 with the owner on board. And total on payroll, I have, I believe, 19 employees. But that allows for a rotation. Our junior crew rotate as well to allow time off for everyone as well, so that we have a fresh and a happy crew all year round for our busy schedule. I get as far away from the ocean as possible, to be honest. I'm Canadian originally, and I spend most of my time back in the mountains skiing in the wilderness away from the ocean.
I'm exactly the same as Fraser. I live in Germany in the Black Forest, again about as far away from the ocean as you can get in Germany, which is quite interesting. And when I'm not on a boat, the only salt water I want to see is the salt water that I boil my pasta in. Basically a childhood dream. When I was 8 years old, the family lived for 3 years in Africa, in Zambia, again far away from the ocean. But instead of flying home that time, we took a cargo ship from Cape Town back to Trieste. And as a little lad of 8 years old, I was on this boat and I was hugely impressed by it. It wasn't a boat, it was a ship, 11,000 tons. And I said, once I grow up, I'm going to run one of these ships. I'm going to work at sea. And so the day I graduated, I went up to Hamburg, joined the Merchant Navy School there, and absolutely hated it. And at the same time, pretty much the same time, I met a gentleman who invited me to go sailing in the Mediterranean, and I thought, oh, this is it. And the next thing, I did a diving course, and I realized, okay, there's more to the ocean than just being on top of it. And I went on a 6-week holiday to Thailand, and 12 years later I left there, and there I developed my career in yachting and in diving, and that's where I met Fraser. And when was that? 2005?
Yeah, 2005, yeah.
I interviewed Fraser. Fraser was 17 that time. I had come back to Thailand on a 53-meter boat, very similar to Gene Machine, and I was looking for a deckhand, and I interviewed Fraser. Was very impressed with him, but I didn't hire him.
You didn't? No. No, he didn't. No.
No, I hired a girl. I needed a female on deck because of the cabin arrangement, and this is also something both Fraser and I, we really do believe in equal opportunity employment. So we've always had females on board on deck in the bridge. We think it's a wonderful thing.
We've been very lucky. We don't have your typical requirements for the yacht crew member. We have had all races, all sexes. We do our best not to follow that stereotypical yacht mentality of hiring size zeros, and you know, I think the industry needs to grow up a little bit in that sense in terms of ageism, racism, and sexism. I was already sort of established in the sailing scene. I grew up sailing from a very young age, originally in Canada. My parents moved to France and then onwards to Thailand. I have a twin brother who is also in the industry. He's also he's a Master 3000, but running as a chief officer on a very large yacht. And so I sort of followed my younger twin brother's footsteps, and I was a year behind him joining the industry. At the time, I had found in the local paper that Christoph was advertising for a deckhand in Phuket, out of all places, Thailand. And yeah, so he didn't hire me, but I jumped on an airplane and flew to south of France, like many of the other hundreds of crew that are out there these days. And I found my first job, and then eventually Christoph and I did actually work together on 2 boats, I believe, until I got here. And you know, essentially mentored me and brought me up through the ranks whilst going between boats. And I finally sort of flew away from the nest and took over my own command after working for him for 2 years on a sister ship to this vessel. And then when the time was right, with such a busy program, I obviously needed time off, and it made sense for Christoph, because it's not a full rotation, it's only sort of 4 months of the year, and he'd like to spend more time at home. And so now he comes in for sort of a 2-month period while I go and have some rest, and then I come back and he goes home to his family. Gene Machine was built in 2013 as Engelberg for a previous owner. Our owner, who's a doctor, a genetic scientist, hence the name, picked her up about 3.5 years ago in the Mediterranean when she was for sale. He was upgrading from a Westport 130 to a larger, more displacement vessel. And since I've been working for him, we've traveled extensively. He has a young family. He has the boat to spend time with his family. We don't charter. We don't, we rarely have large parties on board. We're just here as a family boat so that he can show his children the world. We've done a bit of scientific research recently, sort of testing water samples around the Mediterranean and up north in Svalbard, where we were up at having a bit of a cruise around in the ice and looking for polar bears and stuff. So really, it's a home away from home for him, enabling him to show his family the world on their floating villa, essentially. So Svalbard is an archipelago that is theoretically governed by Norway, but it's theoretically international territory. Anyone can go and live and work there, any nationality. It's predominantly Norwegian. There is a Russian camp, and I believe a German camp, or no?
There used to be a long time ago. No, it's Russian and Norwegian.
It was originally it was supposed to be a strategic outpost for the Cold War time, that sort of stuff, wasn't it? And also they had an outpost in the Second World War. Quite a few staging area for quite a few expeditions to the North Pole. Quite a few failed disasters, a few successful ones for the Norwegian attempt to float a hot air balloon across to the U.S. Was it?
They were going for the North Pole.
They were going for the North Pole.
They were going for the North Pole.
It's incredible. So we saw blue whales, we saw 19 polar bears, we saw obviously lots of walruses and other seals and lots of birds and that sort of stuff. But we were there to see polar bears and stuff. And just to sort of put our toes in the water in an Arctic sort of environment. We were lucky. We managed to get ahead of the recent Polar Code convention that came into effect in January. But we are now also going through the steps to make sure that we are Polar Code compliant so that we can go down to the Antarctic. For anyone looking to go there or get into Arctic or polar conditions, I would suggest Svalbard being a good stepping stone into the larger expeditions. There's an international airport there. It was two overnight cruises from the mainland of Norway. There's 3 excellent restaurants there. One of them used to have a Michelin star restaurant. One has Norway's second largest wine cellar. So we have a makeshift laboratory in our bridge deck salon that obviously we have a luxury interior that wasn't designed to have a laboratory, but we've made do with what we have. We're discussing with the owner about potential new builds and where we go with that, and potentially having a dedicated laboratory with ROVs or potentially a submarine as well to continue his research, but also exploring where we go a little bit deeper into things.